And you know what's interesting is we're seeing things that we never would have believed before. So I've seen a few people who have reversed their diabetic retinopathy. That definitely I would have been told was not possible before. One gentleman, 2 offices away from me, who was due to have laser treatment, and when he went in, the consultant was looking at the notes. He then looked at his eyes again through the slit lamp, went back to the notes, looked at him again, checked it was the right patient. He said, I'm looking at these notes, and these notes say you need laser treatment, but I'm looking in your eyes and there's nothing to laser. No? So I think this is a story of great hope. And, you know, it's a new dawn of us finding a new therapeutic way of dealing with this condition. Obviously, we got type 1, type 2. You can also mention type 3, but focus on type 1, type 2. But type 2 is just all over the place and expanding enormously. I got a paper recently, I think it was last week, where 1 in 3 teenagers in America are now pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
Right, this is, you know, what are we doing to our children? But on the basis of hope and changing systems, so I'm going to share a screen in a minute to show you what we're doing over here with testing insulin level.
Yes.
And understand what's happening in the body. But last week we had a long conversation with Alder Hay Hospital, which is a huge children's hospital in Liverpool. And they contacted us to have a conversation because they heard testing for insulin. So I thought hospitals would never be interested in it. But the consultant was really interested in this and was amazed that we had a point-of-care test. They have lots of children that they bring in for oral glucose tolerance tests. So for your audience, an oral glucose tolerance test is you come in fasting, drink 75 grams of glucose, and then you do a series of blood tests, usually over 2 hours. And you see what happens with sugars. And they said they also do some insulin tests, but it's difficult because you have to keep the blood vial on ice, and then it has to go to a laboratory far away, and there's always the risk of mixing the vials up, getting lost. They thought a point-of-care test could be revolutionary for them, and they've just started what he called a hyperinsulinemic clinic. Right, and this is a clinic for hyperinsulinemia in people who do not have a insulinoma, so they don't have a tumor in their pancreas that's producing insulin. To my mind, and to many on here, they recognize that this is down to our environment and what we eat. Didn't want to go into that conversation with them. But here are 3 point-of-care test machines. So on the left is a Cobas Spear 101, and with the finger prick, you can measure a HbA1c with this. All right. In the middle, you have the Lipid Pro, which can give you a full lipid profile. Again, with 15 microliters of blood, so maybe about 3 or 4 drops. And then the most exciting one for me, from a company called Metabolic, based in Holland. This machine measures insulin using lateral flow devices. We've all become familiar with lateral flow devices. They've been tormenting us for the last 2 years. And but what you do is, in the well where there's a blue dot, you put 50 microliters of blood, which is probably about 6 or 7 drops. In the packet, there's a pipette that gets you the right amount. And then 4 drops of buffer. Then you wait 15 minutes, and at 15 minutes, you pop it into the bottom of the machine, and then it gives you a number. As you can see on the screen, insulin 49.4. And what you can do over time is a bit like the oral glucose tolerance test, is then measure what happens to the insulin over the next 3 or 4 hours with multiple readings. This is the sort of up you can get. So here's an insulin sensitive curve. So you get a glucose that rises. The glucose is on the right-hand side, insulin on the left-hand side. Gold is glucose, green is insulin. And the glucose goes up, comes down, a small spike from the insulin, everything under control. So the key here is the insulin doesn't go above 30 and everything is sorted out within an hour and a half. So a small amount of area under the curve. To show you a difference, here's an insulin resistant one. So again, you can see the sugars are on the left, insulin numbers on the left, glucose on the right. And you can see that the glucose numbers go really high. Then in this one, the insulin response goes up to about 180 picounits. So reducing nearly 7 times what the other one does. And even after 2 hours has not come down to a normal level. So we can see here, the area under the curve is huge compared to the present. So while this is both, I think this is both bad and good. So it's saying you're insulin resistant, but the beauty is the solution is so easy. Now you know, every time you look at a plate of food, see this graph. And every time you eat something at breakfast, lunch, then in the evening, you're going to be perpetually under the curve here, which means you will always be in fat storage mode. You'll be increasing your fatty liver, increasing the weight, increasing your blood pressure, increasing the abnormal lipid. So it empowers people then to make a decision when every time they put a plate of food in front of them, they'll say, what's this going to do to my curve? And then at least it's an informed decision rather than a decision that was based on, sadly, our healthy eating guidelines. But now we've got a tale of hope.